What if I told you that a 15% surge in new customers could be the exact thing that bankrupts your favorite neighborhood restaurant?
I mean, it sounds completely backwards, right? Business logic usually dictates that more sales basically equal more success.
Exactly. You'd think so.
But in the modern hospitality industry, a sudden revenue growth without, operational discipline,
Yeah.
it's honestly a death sentence.
It really is. And today we are looking at this brutal paradox for our deep dive. We're pulling our material from some deeply insightful notes and a presentation by Jeff Magoon of the Magoon Group.
Yeah, the presentation is titled Restaurant Risk in 2026, Protecting Margins in an Unpredictable World.
Right. And our mission for you, the listener, on this deep dive is to uncover why surviving in this industry today has, well, far less to do with the genius of your menu and absolutely everything to do with mastering hidden risks.
And ruthlessly protecting your margins. That is the key.
Yes, margin protection. Whether you're an aspiring entrepreneur or a business nerd or just someone who loves dining out, this is going to completely change how you look at your neighborhood spot.
The notes from the Magoon Group make one thing abundantly clear right from the start. The variables that restaurant owners are forced to balance today, they simply didn't exist in this toxic combination a decade ago.
It's a whole new world.
It really is.
Yeah.
We are way past the era where a great chef could just open their doors, cook amazing food, and, figure out the math later.
Right. Like if you're an aspiring owner listening right now, you're probably obsessing over your menu design or your lighting or your logo.
Oh, absolutely. The creative stuff.
Yeah. But the Magoon notes suggest your first hire shouldn't even be a sous chef. It should probably be a risk management auditor. So, okay, let's unpack this because we really need to completely sever that romanticized, sort of cinematic idea of owning a restaurant from the hyper-competitive reality of 2026.
To understand that reality, we have to look at the squeeze that's happening from basically all sides. First off, food costs aren't just high. They're wildly volatile.
Up and down every week.
Exactly. And supply chain disruptions are no longer rare black swan events. I mean, they are Tuesday.
Yeah.
A chef might plan an entire menu around a specific ingredient, and the supplier simply doesn't show up.
Which is terrifying. And then you layer in the chronic labor shortages, right?
Yes, labor shortages, structural wage inflation, and this whole digital landscape where third-party delivery platforms are just siphoning off 30% of the top line.
30%, while also forcing you to manage an unrelenting wave of online reviews.
Right. Every single one of those factors is essentially an ice pick chipping away at the bottom line.
Which brings us back to that 15% surge I mentioned at the top of the deep dive. Let's put some real numbers behind this, because it's the most dangerous myth in the business, this idea that you can just outsell your problems.
Yeah, the Magoon Group dismantles this beautifully. So let's visualize a thriving, mid-sized neighborhood spot doing, say, $2 million a year in revenue.
Okay, 2 million. Doing well.
Right. Management decides they're going to push aggressively for a 15% increase in sales. So they launch new marketing, maybe open for a new day part, and really push third-party delivery hard.
Making big moves.
And on paper, it works. They generate an extra $300,000.
So it's time to pop the champagne. The top line looks fantastic.
You think so? But underneath the surface, the foundation is cracking.
How so?
Well, to hit that 15% revenue bump, they had to authorize massive overtime because they couldn't hire enough new staff.
Oh, right. Labor shortages.
Exactly. Plus, that aggressive push into delivery triggered algorithmic fees they didn't anticipate. And the kitchen was so overwhelmed that food waste spiked.
Because they're rushing.
Right. Rushing leads to careless errors, which leads to comps and refunds. Because they were operating with all these blind spots, their overall expenses actually grew by 20%.
Wow. So wait, their expenses went up $400,000 just to capture $300,000 in new sales.
Yes. They pushed their staff to the absolute brink of burnout. They flipped more tables, cooked way more meals, only to end the year $100,000 poorer than if they had just stayed where they were.
That is insane. It's like putting a massive supercharged engine into a car with 4 flat tires. I mean, you're burning more gas just to go nowhere.
That's a brilliant way to put it. They fell directly into the margin trap.
Because they focus on top-line vanity metrics instead of the bottom-line reality.
Precisely. They scaled their losses.
But I have to push back a little here, just representing the hardcore business nerds listening. Telling an entrepreneur to stop focusing on sales kind of defies basic capitalist logic.
Sure, it sounds counterintuitive.
Right, like you can't shrink your way to greatness. You have to drive revenue eventually. So if sales aren't the ultimate metric, what are successful operators actually asking themselves?
Well, you're right. You absolutely cannot shrink your way to greatness.
Yeah,
But you also cannot outsell a leaky bucket.
good point.
The truly successful operators in 2026, the ones building resilient empires, they're shifting their focus entirely to margin protection before they even think about revenue growth.
Margin first, growth second.
Exactly. Before selling one extra appetizer, they are auditing their operation with three core questions.
Okay, what are they?
First, where are we bleeding money today? Second, where are the undocumented hidden risks in our daily prep and service? And third, what physical or digital systems can we implement to improve our baseline efficiency?
It makes me think of scaling a delicate culinary recipe. Like, if your ratios are off by just a fraction of an ounce when you're baking a single loaf of bread, you might get a slightly dense slice.
Right. It's annoying, but fine.
But if you try to scale that exact same flawed ratio to bake 1,000 loaves, you don't get more good bread. You just scale up a catastrophic disaster. You have to fix the formula before you multiply the batch.
That is the perfect framework for how operators need to view risk. If you grow revenue on a foundation of poor risk management, you're just multiplying your exposure.
Okay, so if identifying and plugging these operational leaks is the primary directive, we need to look at the tools available to actually do that. And this requires a massive pivot in how we view a topic that usually makes people's eyes just glaze over.
Insurance.
Yes, insurance. Because isn't insurance just a passive safety net? You buy it and hope you never use it, right?
See, that's the trap. Most operators do treat commercial insurance as this deeply frustrating sunk cost. They view it exactly as a passive safety net. You pay an exorbitant premium, you stuff the policy in a filing cabinet somewhere, and you just pray to the hospitality gods that you never actually have to call your broker.
Right, that's what I would do.
But the Magoon perspective flips this entirely. They argue that insurance isn't just a reactive shield, it's a proactive strategy. You need to align specific policies with your actual operations.
Like what kind of policies?
Things like general and liquor liability, workers' compensation, cyber liability, employment practices, commercial property, equipment breakdown, and business interruption.
Okay, that is a massive list. How does buying those make you proactive?
What's fascinating here is how this plays out in the real world. Let's look at a policy like equipment breakdown coverage.
Yeah.
If an operator sits down with their broker and sees their premium for equipment breakdown is absolutely astronomical or worse, the carrier just straight up refuses to underwrite the policy at all. That is a glaring red flag.
Oh, I see. It tells the owner that the insurance company has looked at, say, the age of the refrigeration units or the lack of a maintenance schedule and decided the risk of failure is just way too high.
Exactly. The insurance audit functions as a free diagnostic check. Because as the main walk-in freezer dies on a Friday afternoon in July,
Oh, nightmare
it's a
scenario.
total nightmare. That is not just a $2,000 emergency repair bill. That is tens of thousands of dollars of premium protein and produce ruined.
Not to mention the lost revenue of the entire weekend because you can't serve your menu.
Right, plus the reputational damage of canceling reservations. But by forcing the operator to secure a preventative maintenance contract just to get the insurance policy bound, the insurance process proactively stops that Friday night disaster from ever happening.
You're basically weaponizing the underwriter's audit. You're using the insurance company's desperate desire to never pay out a claim to fix your own kitchen operations.
Exactly. The paperwork dictates the physical reality. It's the exact same with employment practices liability insurance, or EPLI.
Okay, how does that one work?
If a restaurant has terrible turnover, no documented HR procedures, and managers who fire staff via text message, their SELI premiums will bleed them dry. The insurance audit forces them to build an actual, functional human resources framework.
It forces operational excellence. You don't buy a policy to clean up a mess. You buy a policy to force your team to build the systems that prevent the mess.
Precisely. That is the Magoon Group's core philosophy on insurance.
Well, tightening up kitchen maintenance and HR protocols patches the physical holes in your margin. But the Magoon presentation highlights a massive vulnerability that proves the biggest leak in a restaurant's margin isn't happening on the cutting board.
Right. It's happening on the Wi-Fi network.
Which brings us back to that cyber liability policy you mentioned. Why is a local restaurant suddenly a prime cyber target?
Cyber liability is arguably the fastest growing area of vulnerability in the entire hospitality sector.
Assuming everyone listening knows what a basic point of sale system is. I mean, the danger today isn't just someone hacking a standalone cash register, is it?
No, not at all. The danger is the sprawling, interconnected tech stack that modern restaurants rely on for their daily efficiency.
Like online ordering and reservations.
Yes, online ordering, digital reservation platforms, loyalty programs, every single API integration creates a new backdoor.
Wow.
You have the POS system talking to 3 different third-party delivery apps. You have a reservation platform API linked to a customer loyalty database, which is holding thousands of names, emails, phone numbers, and credit card profiles.
And all of that is talking to each other.
Exactly. Plus, you have automated payroll software communicating with employee scheduling apps right on your server's personal cell phones.
So when a restaurant tries to optimize their business by plugging all these brilliant software tools together, they are inadvertently stringing this massive digital tripwire across their entire operation.
That's exactly it. And a ransomware attack via a vulnerability in, say, a third-party delivery integration doesn't just steal data. It functions as a complete business shutdown.
Because everything is connected.
Right. If the system locks up on a Saturday night, the kitchen printers go dead. The waitstaff cannot send orders to the bar. You cannot process a single credit card. You are functionally closed, even though the dining room is full.
That's terrifying. So cybersecurity in a restaurant is no longer just an IT issue?
No, it is a fundamental business continuity issue.
Which naturally brings us to the technological elephant in the room. The Magoon notes tackle the implementation of artificial intelligence directly. Now, when people hear AI in restaurants, they immediately picture a robotic arm flipping burgers or a drone dropping a salad onto a table.
Oh, sure. The visual of automation is always physical in pop culture. But the reality of AI in 2026 is entirely invisible to the guest. And it is executing tasks that are infinitely more valuable to margin protection than flipping a burger.
Give me a concrete look at how that mechanism actually works. How is AI protecting the margin without interacting with the food?
Let's take demand forecasting. In the past, a kitchen manager would look at last year's sales, guess how busy they might be on a Tuesday, and order ingredients accordingly.
Lots of guesswork.
Tons. Today, AI demand forecasting ingests historical POS data, real-time local weather forecasts, and neighborhood event schedules.
Wait, really? So the algorithm knows it is going to rain on Tuesday, and it knows the local baseball game just got canceled.
Precisely. And it instantly calculates that dine-in foot traffic will drop by 20%, but third-party delivery will surge by 30%.
Oh, wow.
Right? So it automatically adjusts the prep list before the kitchen staff even clocks in. It tells the prep cooks to pivot away from plating delicate, highly perishable dine-in specials and instead directs them to prep robust, high-margin items that travel well in delivery boxes.
That is incredible. So you don't throw away $300 of unused halibut at midnight because the AI prevented you from prepping it in the first place.
Exactly. It's handling inventory management, scheduling, marketing automation, guest communications, even online reputation monitoring.
So what does this all mean? If an algorithm is dictating the prep list, managing the inventory, and building the employee schedule, are we just slowly optimizing the human element out of the dining experience entirely?
See, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the Magoon Group argues the exact opposite is happening. Artificial intelligence isn't replacing hospitality. It is the only thing saving it.
I'm not sure I follow. How does an inventory algorithm save hospitality?
Well, think about what true hospitality is. That warm, intuitive, uniquely human connection. It requires time, energy, and presence.
Right.
A general manager cannot provide a welcoming presence in the dining room if they are locked in a windowless back office for 4 hours a day, fighting with Excel spreadsheets, trying to reconcile food costs, and manually adjusting staff schedules.
They're exhausted before service even begins.
Exactly. By utilizing AI to completely absorb the complex back office math and logistics, the technology handles the margin protection. This frees up the human capital to do the one thing the algorithm cannot do.
Which is look a guest in the eye, read the room, and deliver an unforgettable experience.
Yes, AI removes the friction of operations so the staff can focus entirely on execution.
The machine does the math, so the human can pour the wine. That is a brilliant distinction. But it raises the most critical variable in this entire equation. If the digital systems are handling the data, who is actually executing the physical hospitality?
And this is where the Magoon notes pivot from digital systems to human systems. Because the ultimate risk mitigator in any restaurant isn't software. It is human capital.
The humans are the most important part.
Always. And in an era of chronic labor shortages, The source material delivers a really profound insight. They write, "The best employee is often the one you never have to replace."
That quote stopped me in my tracks when I read it. It forces a complete shift from a culture of endless recruiting to a culture of fierce retention.
It has to. The hidden cost of turnover is a massive, completely undocumented margin leak.
How so?
When a skilled line cook quits, you aren't just paying to recruit and train someone new. You are bleeding margin through the lost efficiency of the empty station, the mistakes the new hire makes, the food they burn, and the slower ticket times that frustrate your guests.
Right, ripples through the whole operation.
Exactly. Exceptional operators view investing in their current team through leadership development, training, clear communication, and career advancement as their primary risk management strategy.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. Because the source material makes a connection that bridges the gap between just basic good service and actual financial survival.
Yes, the customer experience connection.
Right. They argue that training a server to anticipate a guest's needs or keeping a kitchen impeccably clean isn't just about providing good service. It is literal, quantifiable risk mitigation that prevents financial loss.
It is the ultimate preventative measure, operating right at the ground level. Think about it. A seasoned, highly trained prep cook understands cross-contamination intimately. Their daily excellence prevents a foodborne illness outbreak, which is a catastrophic liability that can bankrupt a business overnight.
Or a well-trained server who knows the exact protocol for handling a severe peanut allergy at table 4, they are actively preventing a medical emergency.
Exactly. Or a dedicated, engaged manager who notices a frayed electrical cord on a commercial blender before it sparks a fire. Or they call the maintenance team about a loose floorboard in the dining room before a customer trips on it.
That human awareness, born out of a culture that actually values retention and leadership, prevents the very disasters that your insurance policies are designed to cover.
The mechanisms are entirely intertwined, and that operational excellence flows directly into the psychology of the customer.
I love this part. I want you, listening right now, to think about your absolute favorite restaurant, the place you recommend to everyone, the spot you always choose to celebrate a milestone. I guarantee you the reason you keep going back isn't just because the food is delicious.
No, it's because the experience is flawlessly consistent.
Yes, you know exactly the level of service, the ambiance, and the quality you are going to get every single time you walk through those doors. The Magoon Group highlights that consistency creates trust, and trust is the most reliable generator of revenue.
Happy customers return, they become evangelists for your brand online, and they bring their friends. Therefore, customer experience is indistinguishable from risk management.
It's all the same thing.
It really is. If your food safety protocols, your facility maintenance, your brand reputation, and your technology reliability are all meticulously dialed in, the customer feels an inherent sense of confidence. And a confident, loyal customer base is the absolute best hedge a restaurant can build against the unpredictable economic swings of 2026.
It is a masterclass in connecting seemingly disparate dots. I mean, the dishwasher's training protocol, the AI demand forecasting, the cyber liability policy, and the preventative maintenance on the freezer. They are all pulling in the exact same direction.
Which brings us to the ultimate synthesis of Jeff Magoon's presentation. When an operator masters this, when they align margin protection, proactive insurance strategies, integrated technology, and deep investments in human capital, they aren't just surviving a tough economy.
They're building something much bigger.
They are building tangible, long-term enterprise value.
Because the end goal for many entrepreneurs isn't just to work the floor of one restaurant for 40 years. I mean, they want to open a second location, scale a concept regionally, or eventually sell a brand for a life-changing valuation.
And institutional investors or buyers, they do not write massive checks for a restaurant that relies entirely on the owner's gut instincts and the sheer willpower of a few talented chefs.
You cannot scale sheer willpower.
You really can't. Growth requires documented, repeatable operating procedures. It requires bulletproof, real-time financial reporting. It requires a technology stack that scales effortlessly and a deep bench of internally developed leaders ready to parachute into new locations and execute the vision.
You essentially have to build a machine that operates flawlessly even when the founder is asleep.
Exactly. Protecting a restaurant in 2026 isn't about bracing for impact and hoping to recover from a disaster. It is about building an architectural framework that actively prevents the disaster, allowing the business to scale safely in a highly dangerous world.
It fundamentally rewires how you perceive the hospitality industry. Seriously, the next time you sit down at your favorite spot, unfold your linen napkin, and look at the menu, I want you to look past the appetizers. Realize that you are sitting inside a highly tuned, fiercely protected risk management machine.
And the fact that your meal feels effortless, relaxed, and joyful means that the machine is operating with absolute precision. The invisible safety net of smart operations allows the art of hospitality to shine.
Beautifully said. But I want to leave you with one final, slightly provocative thought to mull over long after this deep dive ends. We have spent this time exploring how the restaurants of the future are utilizing AI, automated digital systems, and hyper-efficient data supply chains to perfectly manage operational risks.
Right.
But if we project 5 years down the line, when every great restaurant eventually has access to the exact same flawless algorithms, the exact same predictive ordering, and the exact same robotic efficiencies, will the ultimate competitive advantage simply be the unpredictable, slightly messy, uniquely human warmth that a computer could never possibly replicate?
That raises a really important question about the soul of the industry. Because when perfection becomes commoditized by technology, imperfection might just become the premium product.
Because no matter how brilliant the algorithm running the back office is, we are still just humans, looking to break bread and connect with other humans. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll see you next time.